Leave meeting. Okay. Okay, so I would like to call our regular meeting for the July 14th to order at 7:05. If we could, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen here.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Okay, approval of the agenda. Well, we do have a packed agenda. Board members, I just wanted to draw your attention that we did add a K4, the secretary's contracts on for the board action. If you guys didn't see that email a day or two ago, I'm not quite sure. Everything's kind of blends in.
right.
Okay, let's go ahead and do the approval of minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve the June 23rd, 2021 minutes.
Jacob Mari, I move that we approve the June 23rd minutes.
Christina Plord, second.
Okay, any discussion at this time? Don't see anything raised. Okay, we will do a roll call vote. Let's go through. Dana?
Plord, please.
Aye.
Plord?
Aye.
Madhu?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, the minutes are approved as is. Okay, let's move to the public participation. At this time, I would like to welcome members of the public to raise your hand. See, I'm moving the screen. At this time, you will have 2 minutes, and we'll have Jacob that will give you a 30-second visual, and he'll tell you 30 seconds vocal. If you could please list your name and your address for the record. And at this time, like I said, you can raise your hand and I will call on you, or if you're on the phone, you can star 9. So let's start off with Sarah Briggs.
Hello.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi there.
I'm Sarah Briggs. I'm a Tolland resident. I live at 157 Anderson Road.
Go ahead.
Okay. I believe this is my second time speaking with you guys. I'm going to speak up regarding masks mandated for this upcoming school year. I just want to say first and foremost that parents that are speaking, saying that my child should be masked because they're scared for their child, are the same parents that are masking their kids at the grocery store, at restaurants, sitting next to people that they may or may not be vaccinated. So to be honest with you, that's all I should have to say, because that makes no common sense. But that's not all I'm going to say. I'm actually going to say some more. I'm a healthcare worker. I work for Hartford Hospital. I'm vaccinated. I believe in vaccines. I believe in doing things to save people's lives. That's warranted. Unfortunately, this mask mandate for our children is unwarranted. All the studies, all the statistics point to no real evidence to be keeping our children muzzled for 6 to 8 hours a day in schools. These masks and COVID are ruining our children's livelihood. One of my patients is a behavioral specialist for a local elementary school, and she told me about ongoing mental illness and meltdowns due to the masks and COVID that she experienced last school year. I've contacted EAHD and Connecticut DPH numerous times for statistics and numbers. I have not received anything from them. I want to make decisions from my family's health regarding COVID based on research and facts, and there are none to justify my son wearing a mask all day at school. So that's what I wanted to say. And thank you for listening to me and giving me time to speak up. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Let's go to Julie.
Hello.
Oh,
Do I have an echo?
Try that again. Nope.
Okay, we should be good now. Sorry about that.
Perfect.
Good evening. I'd just like to say thank you all for listening and drafting, sending a letter to Governor Lamont requesting masks be made optional and our choice as parents for the upcoming school year. We greatly appreciate all you guys do for us and our kids. All three of my kids have struggled this entire year with wearing masks. My son has been in speech therapy for the past 2 years at Birch Grove, and his speech has declined tremendously this past year due to the masks and not being able to see his speech therapist's facial expressions and mouth. That was just one of my things that I have, found out this past year. All of our kids have done their part at protecting the vulnerable for 15 months, and I feel it's time to move forward, make masks optional in our schools. With that being said, my daughter has written a letter that she'd like to read. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Olivia Brennan. I am 10 years old and I'm going into the 5th grade. All last year, we had to wear masks to school and on the bus. Every day at school, it was so hard to hear my teacher and all my classmates. And besides that, in the spring and summer, I got so sweaty that my mask started to get fuzzy every day and was basically melting. It was so hard to concentrate on my work because of how long I had to keep my mask on. When I was going to school, I would get headaches from keeping my mask on all day. I have not had any headaches for the entire summer because I did not have to wear a mask all day long. These are my reasons why they should not make us wear masks in school anymore. Thank you.
And we are
Julie,
at
I'm going to
one-
need you to put your full name and address as well for the record.
Can you repeat that?
I need your full name and your address for the record.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, Julie Brennan, and we're at 127 Ellington Road, Tolland.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Jeff.
Yes, good evening. Are you guys there?
Yep.
No, thank you very much. I just want to, I'm sorry, Jeff Ruiz, 427 Buff Cap Road. I'd just like to reiterate the folks before me said about masks. I'd like to see it optional for children in school. It was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and here we are a year and a half later. We're starting to get back to normal. Everything's opening back up. And if parents are worried about their children, they have the opportunity to make the decision themselves. If I want to send my children to school with a mask on, that is my choice as a parent. If I do not want to send them without a mask on, that should be my decision as a parent as well. I hope that you guys will look into this and do what is best for the children coming through the school system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Let's move to Shaw.
Hi, my name is Dianna Shang. I'm at 43 Woodhenge Drive. I'm a resident of Tolland, and I just wanted to say that I appreciate you taking the time for allowing us to speak, and for the other people who also took the opportunity to speak. I agree that we should evaluate the mask mandate, but I also feel that we need to proceed cautiously. There are still many cases. There have been 8,000 deaths in our state alone, 600,000 deaths throughout the nation, and that's significant. And while I can most certainly appreciate that we all as a country, as a state, as a town have struggled, our children are probably the most resilient, much more resilient than many adults. My daughter has worn her mask. She's 5 years old, and she has not complained about it. She actually will remind me to put on a mask. And so I most certainly appreciate people's concerns, but I also want us to proceed with caution and wait to really get more data as far as what the Delta variant is doing, changes in incidents, hospitalizations, and deaths as the school year approaches before we actually make a decision. In addition, the steps that we've taken to decrease COVID, such as social distancing, masks, and hand hygiene, have not only decreased the cases of COVID, but also flu. Flu was pretty much non-existent. And every year we lose people to flu, including children. So I just urge you to just proceed with caution and look at the data, look at the science before making a decision. Personally, I think it's too soon to unmask our children. And I thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to Jessica.
Hi, Jessica Susi from 108 Lala Road. And I just want to say today that I believe we should all be advocating for our children in the Tolland Public Schools, but I want to make sure it's said that not all students have the same needs. It should be up to the parents to decide what is best and what is the safest and what is the most reasonable solution for their own children. There are many children with different needs and different medical conditions. If you're concerned about your child returning to school, being around other students who are maskless, then you should connect with the administration and staff to initiate a plan that you're comfortable with. From a very personal experience, I can say, having an immunocompromised son, that the Tolland Public Schools are extremely supportive in all of these areas and making accommodations for the children in our schools. Our own children are our own responsibility. We cannot expect other people to wear masks because of our own fears. Simple accommodations like social distancing and hand washing are very feasible, but there are documented risks from medical professionals, published data in medical journals, reports from scientists, professionals, departments of infectious disease, CDC, and even Dr. Fauci himself, who state that masks have very serious warnings.
30 seconds.
And there are many prolonged dangers from wearing masks. And I will finish with saying that I do not expect Tolland Public Schools to enforce mask wearing policies based on a vaccination status. That is segregation and discrimination,
Recording
and
stopped.
it should not be supported.
Thank you, Jessica. Let's go to Dr. Willett. Was that our recording that said?
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, but I don't know why. So I know, Lisa, if you want to text me, you have privileges, so I'm not sure why it's doing that.
She dropped off the meeting.
Oh, well, that would be why then, if she got kicked out. So I'm looking.
Dr. Willett, do you want to continue the recording then?
Yeah, I can.
Who does that?
If I do, sometimes it could disrupt, it could cause a crash. So I'm just gonna, if Lisa comes on in the next minute or two, I'm gonna give it back to her.
Okay, no, that's
All right.
fine. It's completely
Okay,
fine.
because it could cause a crash if I engage it
Well,
right
do you
now.
know, I could record it, I guess. I just don't know where it goes. Probably in the cloud.
It goes onto your hard drive or the cloud. So we just have to be careful because it runs into, you know what I mean? So I'll give her a minute. And if she doesn't, I'll turn it on. And
Sorry, did you call me? I'm sorry, I got a quick.
Hold on one second, Kate. We're just figuring out this recording situation. So, Dr. Willett,
yeah, I'm going to give it 3 minutes. If I don't see Lisa, I'll engage it on this hard drive and just pray. But if you see us all disappear or I drop off, that's what happened.
sounds good. Okay, Kate, go ahead.
Kate Howard Bender, 103 Goose Lane. I just have 2 points. First, I'd like to just ask the board to reconsider its, like basically regarding the calendar. Dr. Willett and his administrators asked for extra days so that they could properly respond to all of the loss of learning and various social emotional needs of students for next year. And I mean, it's inconvenient for parents, but I would also ask that you listen to what the administrators are saying. If they need the time, I think they should get it because it's good for our kids. The second thing that I'd like to address is the mask issue. I'm just going to give you a couple quick numbers. 2,300 students in Tolland. 1,300 approximately are under the age of 12. That's 57% of our total population. that 57% are not eligible to be vaccinated. That is an unacceptable number for me. 100% of the students, 100% of the students at Birch Grove are unvaccinated and cannot be vaccinated. So that's unacceptable for me. Another 100% are unacceptable, at TIS are also ineligible to be vaccinated, unacceptable. Until we have herd immunity, we need to stay safe and we need to wait to see what the CDC and the EHHD tell us to do. Based on my experience of 24 years in the public school systems, I know that we're going to hear last minute. So let's wait until mid-August to see what the guidance is, and then let's decide what to do. Let's not spend all our political will trying to advocate for something that really just doesn't make sense. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you all, and I hope that you are all staying safe. Be well.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, at this time, is there any other member of the public that would like to speak? If so, you can raise your hand. If not, I will close out the first public participation. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to correspondence. Jacob, I would assume you have correspondence.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, the recording's back.
Recording's back.
I don't know. Anyway, so we had quite a few emails over the past couple of weeks. We had an email asking that the board add extra half days to the school calendar. And we had another email asking, making that same request. We had an email requesting that masks not be required for the upcoming school year. We had an email asking that the mask mandate stay in place for the school system. An email from a parent interested in getting involved in the PTO or a similar organization. An email asking for a video of her son who has since graduated. An email asking about how the author can find details about Tolland Public Schools curriculum. The author urged the district not to teach critical race theory. An email that raises concerns about the negative effects of mask wearing for children. An email that from the building committee chair alerting the Board of Education about the upcoming grand opening of the new school. An email urging the Board of Education to not mandate masks for the upcoming school year. An email asking about surplus school furniture. An email asking to make masks optional for the upcoming school year. And an email asking that mask mandates remain in place for the upcoming school year, and two other emails making that same request. And I can get that over to Lisa if she's on to really tell her that.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob. At this point, I will open it up for points of information for our board members. And Dr. Willett, if you want to add anything. Obviously, we have a packed agenda, and the mask issue we're going to be speaking with on H4 and also probably H3 with the COVID update. So I'd just like to remind members that, so we're not rehashing and hashing again when we actually have more information. So once again, if any board members would like to speak at this time during points of information, please raise your hand. Okay, let's go ahead. Oh, we don't have student representatives tonight, do we?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're, yeah.
There was I remember Emily being one, I think, and if the student representatives are here, was it Emily and Melissa? I had it written down.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look in the virtual room here and see, but I'm not seeing them.
Okay, so we can move on to superintendent's report. So Dr. Willett, if you want to start with H1 with Audrey McCowan for the National Invention Convention finalists from Tolland.
Absolutely.
It's like a tongue twister. National Invention Convention.
Yes, so I would like to, and I'm just looking through the room here, and I'm going to grab our special guest today. But Audrey McCowan's joining us today. She has been an amazing representative of the Tolland Public Schools. Let me just see if she's going to do a presentation for us on the National Intervention Convention, and she was for Tolland, our representative, to the national version of the Invention Convention, and has done some amazing things in the schools. Her presentation will illustrate all of the things she's done with her inventions, and she has a special video to share with us as well today. So I'm just gonna, Audrey, are
Yeah,
you?
she's here. She's on the box. I see her.
You see her? So Audrey, we'll see if, do you have video of Audrey too? Are you there? So I
Yep,
can
you just need to
start to,
unmute her, Dr. Willett.
I'm here.
you got it? Okay, great. Welcome, Audrey.
Yeah.
So I can't, sometimes I can't see everyone on my screen, but what I'm gonna do, Audrey, is I'm just going to put up your presentation and be your assistant. So you can walk through each of the slides and I'll just be the clicker, okay?
Great, thank you. So, hello, my name is Audrey McCowan, and I am a National Invention Convention finalist this year. Next slide. So, the CIC's mission is basically to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills through invention and innovation, which we really do all year round. Next slide. So, if you're wondering how students become Invention Convention, get into the Invention Convention. Next slide. You can do it in many ways by identifying real-world problems.
Sorry, there's a lag, sorry, go ahead.
By identifying real-world problems, being curious, doing research, designing solutions, working with mentors, using resources, building prototypes, testing prototypes, sharing inventions with others, and obviously redesigning. Next slide. So in 6th grade, I participated in the Invention Convention for the first year. This year, obviously, I was in person, and I was a TMS and Invention Convention finalist. I was named a state finalist, and I was invited to attend the National Invention Convention, even though I skipped it in order to go to the UN. Next slide. So what I made was Pain Be Gone Pops, and these were popsicles that used all natural ingredients to curb the effects of arthritis. And I came up with this idea because I suffer with arthritis, and during the time I was coming up with ideas for the Invention Convention, my arthritis was at probably its worst point that it's been at so far. So I really was inspired to just make something that could help me and help other people. Next slide. So in 7th grade, it was kind of a weird situation. I was both in person and virtual. I was named Convention finalist at TMS in person, but when coronavirus hit and we had to go into quarantine, I did my state finals at home and the national finals at home, which I did attend this year. In 7th grade, I made calm noms, which was, if you can tell a pattern here, you know, it's happening. But there's, sorry, my invention was chocolate that curbed anxiety through all natural ingredients. And the ingredients had stuff in them like vitamin E that made it so that you could curb your anxiety. Obviously, it didn't replace medicine, but it did help calm me down. And I think that during quarantine, that was something a lot of people, including me, needed.
Are you taking orders for calm noms, Audrey? Because I'll give you a big one.
They're out now, and they have been for the past year and a half.
Oh, great.
I can't seem to hear her.
There's some kind of lag going on.
Audrey, can you start over for this slide?
Sorry, Audrey.
It's fine. But we had the TMS finals at school, and these are some of the other inventions so that you can see that a lot of kids really like participating in Invention Convention, and they can come up with some really amazing ideas. Next slide. So 8th grade, I just finished 8th grade and it was fully virtual. It was probably the most difficult that it's been all 3 years. So I was named a TMS finalist, a state finalist, and then I went on to the National Invention Convention. And I had to make 2 videos this year, which was very fun. Next slide. So during this next part, I'm going to show little snippets of the slideshow I had to create instead of a board. And don't worry, I'm not going to read all of it. It'll bore you. So I'm going to give you a little snippet. So I came up with the idea for my invention, the Breathe Better Buzz Box, because the Australian wildfires were very bad at the time I was coming up with this idea. And I wanted a way to have an air purifier that was small. It was very eco-friendly. It was very friendly for your wallet, and it made it that people from all walks of life could have at least some way to get cleaner air. Next slide. So I designed the BX4 in kind of a odd way. I used stuff that I could find around my house just to kind of create it and make it so that it was as cheap as I could possibly make it, because for the Invention Convention, you have a cutoff at $50, so you can't spend anything more than $50 to make your invention. So I used a cardboard box, coffee filters, beeswax candles, mesh fabric, 2 fans, and a paper clip. Granted, I did use multiple boxes and multiple coffee filters because I did a lot of things wrong the first few times, but in the end, this was all I really needed. Next slide. So the BX4 works by fans sucking in dirty air, and the coffee filters and mesh fabric trapping particles inside of them. The beeswax candle is a little different. So the beeswax candle has negative ions. I made that mistake too many times in my video, but it has negative ions in it that can attach to positive ions, which are things like dust and pollen, or basically anything bad for the air quality. And then when another fan will push out clean air, it will have either clean air or significantly less dirty air. And
she broke it.
Yeah, it's just sticking again.
So it's her internet, or?
Does work very well. So, I mean, whatever works. Next slide.
This is so cool.
It is so impressive, Audrey.
Very impressive. This
Thank
is
you.
so creative.
I can see myself with the chocolate bar in one hand, the pop in the other, and this thing on my face. Totally. Is this the right one, Audrey, or did you want the next one?
Next one, please.
Okay.
So here's some testing pictures that I used. Obviously, it was very cold out. It was the middle of winter when I tested it, and I really had no way besides sticking my face into the fire to test it. And my mom said no. So I used snow, which was plentiful. It was all around me. So I tried to get the cleanest snow I could. And as you can see from my first prototype, to the point that where my final prototype, there is very little dirt or dust in it. And that's something that I was very proud of because, like, you know, it was time was running out, so I needed something. Next slide. So here's my video. Will you please play it, Dr. Willett?
Got it.
Hi, my name is Audrey McCowan, and I'm an 8th grader at Tolland Middle School in Tolland, Connecticut. I've invented the Breathe Better Buzz Box, also known as the BX4. What makes the BX4 so special, you may ask? Well, the BX4 is an air purifier that not only cleans the air around it effectively, but it is made out of almost 100% recycled materials, which makes it better for the environment and your wallet. I was inspired to create the BX4 after the devastating wildfires in Australia this past year. Those wildfires brought devastating consequences to the air quality and made me think, how can I help? The BX4 is made out of a few simple materials, many of which you can find in your home. A coffee filter, mesh fabric, beeswax candle, 2 small handheld fans, a small metal rod I used to turn on one of those strands, and of course, a cardboard box. How the BX4 works is one of the fans will pull in dirty air and another will blow out clean air. But what really makes a difference is the filtration system I've created inside of the BX4. It starts off with a coffee filter, then a beeswax candle. Beeswax candles produce negative ions, and when negative ions are emitted into the air, they cancel out positive ions, things like smoke and dust. I found through trial and error that when I shave beeswax candle into very, very tiny shavings, those shavings will emit negative ions, which will cancel out positive ions that are in the air, making the air cleaner. After that, we have a coffee filter, and as sort of my last wall of defense, we have my mesh fabric, which will trap any particles of dust or air that may have escaped the filtration process. My first prototype, as you can see here, was unsuccessful for a multitude of reasons. First of all, the cuts where the fans were supposed to go were not aligned, which proved to be a huge problem in testing the prototype, and also the cuts were extremely uneven. This was really my testing box, and as you can see, the tests weren't necessarily successful. After I realized that that would not work, I moved on to my second prototype, which ended up being my final prototype. As you can see here, the holes where the fans go are completely aligned, the cuts are a lot cleaner, and this all proved to be better when testing. Speaking of testing, it was a unique experience. My first idea was to stick my face in smoke with and without the BX4 for some personal analysis, seeing how it worked. Once that was vetoed by my mother, I decided to go with the next best thing, snow. There was a lot of snow by the time I was testing my product, and snow absorbs particles in the air, such as aforementioned, smoke and dust. Once snow is melted, you can see those particles incredibly clearly. So what I did was I set a fire in my fire pit, I grabbed a snowball, and I set it behind the BX4 for a period of time, then I set it aside. I grabbed a snowball of relatively the same size and put it in front of the smoke without the BX4 for relatively the same time. After that, I put them in 2 bowls inside and let them melt. My first few trials were successful, but not to the extent I wanted them to. Fast forward to the final trial where I decided to put the mesh fabric on over my box. That made it so that when it was melted, you had to look very closely to see any pollutants in the water. That was when I learned that the BX4 at this stage was highly effective. My main audience for the BX4 is anyone in a situation or area with unclean or unsafe air. The BX4 can be used anywhere at any time. It can even be used in the kitchen while you're cooking and there might be a little too much smoke. The BX4 stands out against competition because of two main reasons: price and environmental awareness. On the price standpoint, the BX4 with everything would only cost about $10 to $20, depending how much we mass produced it. But comparing that to one of the most prevalent and best filters of today, the HEPA filters, those can cost up to $1,000. On environmental awareness, since the BX4 is almost 100% recycled, everything in the BX4 can be recycled, including the fans. Some filters can actually use ground level ozone, which, as you probably know, is not only bad for the environment, but it's also bad for your health. The BX4 does not cost $1,000, and it does not produce ground level ozone. In conclusion, I find the BX4 to be one of the best solutions in today's growing problem of inadequate air quality. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me speak about the BX4, the future in cleaner air.
Nice.
Amazing.
We've got to get you to do PR for the district, Audrey. You're very effective.
Thank you. I just realized I'm wearing the same shirt, which, okay.
Oh, you planned that, right? That was what you planned.
No. So some of the skills I've learned over the past 3 years of doing Invention Convention was obviously some STEAM skills. And a lot of people don't think that Invention Convention could include art, but as you could see, all of my inventions included levels of design, which you need art for. It helped me a lot with my self-discovery. Before Invention Convention in 6th grade with Miss Cassidy, I really hated science. I really hated it, and all I could think about is how I never wanted to do it again. But Invention has honestly helped me learn a lot about myself and learn that if I put my mind to it, I actually can be really good at science, and I like it a lot. It helped me solve some problems. It helped me with my problem solving. Now I think more with an open mind, figuring out solutions. It helped my risk taking and critical thinking by allowing me to venture out of what I thought was possible. It developed interests, again, science, and it helped me learn from my mistakes. Sometimes I can get a little uptight when I make a lot of mistakes, but Invention Convention has really taught me that making mistakes is okay, because no matter how many mistakes you make, there will always be something that comes out of it. My communication and presentation skills have gotten a lot better from 6th grade to now. My presentation skills have increased tremendously, and that's honestly all due to Invention Convention. And preparation for the future, again, presentation skills, being confident, self-discovery, and knowing that I can make mistakes and still be okay has really helped me prepare for high school, for college, and beyond. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and to talk about Invention Convention. I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Well, I have to say thank you very much for coming and presenting to the board. I think I can speak for everyone. I think we're highly impressed with all your inventions, and I'm sure there will be more to come just entering high school. So this is really exciting because we don't get usually an opportunity to actually see our students present and show us what they're doing. And this is very impressive. I mean, the fact that you have Pain Be Gone Pops and the Comnoms and now a box, I mean, you're going to change the world, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, your entire product line, I would pretty much buy into right now. So if you need an investor, Audrey, let me know. I want to get in at the ground level, okay?
Thank you.
It's not even Shark Tank. It's just the Board of Ed meeting.
That's right. I want to be in on the ground level with her. So you're great. You're amazing, Audrey. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Do any of the board members have any questions for her? Anything? Like I said, it's it's amazing. I think the inventions that you're coming up with, I just, it's unbelievable. And it's so awesome that you're starting young, and it's like, the world is your limit. Let me go to Plord.
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing this with us, and I'm very impressed with your presentation skills as well. You're really going to go far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob?
Oh, really congratulations up on your success up in these competitions. Just listening to what you had to say about the filter kind of made me embarrassed for what I knew in 8th grade for science. My only complaint about the last one is that, unlike the other two, it wasn't something I could eat. Otherwise, it was very impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Let's go to Madhu.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm so thoroughly impressed with you, and I don't know what impresses me more, if it's the presentation skills, because those aren't easy, especially to have developed at, in middle school, or the actual inventions, which probably even harder. I'm so thoroughly impressed with you. Congratulations.
Thank you again.
Let's go to Dana.
Well, first, Audrey, I want to say I didn't notice the shirt change, the shirt being the same. I think the coat changed it a little, so that was good. But yeah, I just want to reiterate everybody said. First of all, your product line, as Dr. Willett said, if he's not available to get on the ground floor, I would like to do that. And that might be something that you have some great opportunity and a great future, and getting in front of a group of people, let alone a group of people on Zoom. You did a phenomenal job. So keep it going. You have a bright future. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Sophia.
I also want to say how impressed I am. And you are so smart. Unbelievable. You should be proud of yourself. And I'm so amazed.
Thank you again.
So we'll reschedule this for next year, Dr. Willett.
Yes.
For new invention.
That's right. Stay tuned. I'm sure this is just the beginning.
So once again, thank you very much, Audrey, for coming. It's very exciting to see what you're doing, and I can't wait to see what your future inventions are. So
I can't wait either.
And maybe food again, because I think you got the board members with the food.
I'll think about it. Okay. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Have a good night, Audrey. Take care.
See, I love this. This is great. Let's go to the H2 for the celebrations.
Yes. So, as you know, every couple of meetings we do celebrations and presentations of students and others that we are highlighting and accolades in the district. We do have with us tonight some other students that we'd like to celebrate. They participated in the Technology Student Association National Competition. Dan Duff, Will Glazer, and Eric Ekblom placed third in the regional competition for video game design, which included participants from the whole region: Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, and New York. And so the TSA, the Technology Student Association, it's a national nonprofit organization with 250,000 middle and high school students. And these young men were involved and got placed in a high position in the competition. So we wanted to bring them here tonight to talk a little bit about what they did, their interactive adventure game, how they experienced at the national competition, and and Miss Beth Penny is their advisor, who I believe is also here tonight as well. So I'd invite the young men and the advisor to kind of fill us in on the adventure that they've been through, and to celebrate you all tonight for the amazing accomplishment that you achieved here of getting it this far. Again, I want to invest in your gaming company too as soon as you're ready to put that out there. Sometimes the mics can be a little weird here, so just you can unmute yourself, and feel free to kind of share your screen or throw out any info you want.
Hi, this is Daniel's mother. He's at Boy Scout camp this week, so he's not able to make it today, but we're going to share this presentation or the notes with him.
Okay.
Yeah, my son's at Boy Scout camp too for the summer, so I understand that.
Yeah, and I saw the Duff in there, so forgive me. I just uh, so again, this is just a celebration of them. I mean, they really have done an amazing thing here, and they're representing like many student groups do. You know, we have Rage Robotics, we have other groups in town, and this is just another example in the high school here, in the middle high school, of how the programming, that the teachers are doing with the students is giving them the opportunity to compete on a national level and win on a national level, just like you saw with Audrey McCowan coming in and competing in the national level, and these gentlemen competing in the national level. They keep going after it, and I see in our future a lot of wins from these young adults as they do great honor for Tolland by being so creative, so innovative, and thanks to them and their teachers for the amazing work that they're doing. It's just incredible.
No,
So
this is awesome. I think maybe we'll try to see if we can snag them at some point so they can show us a little video clip of their video game. I think that'd be great.
yeah, yes, I think I'll post a link to that. And I think some people are having some technical difficulties tonight for some reason. So, but thank you, Ms.
Probably
Stuff, for
water
letting
in the
us know.
lines from all the water.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows? Maybe someone's floating around in a boat over here.
Probably, maybe. God.
Okay, well, I want to congratulate them, and I look forward to seeing what they created.
Sounds good.
But I'm going to put a little note in here so that we can maybe put a little pin in this, and we can maybe try to
bring it back. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the COVID update.
Okay, so as you know, at certain intervals here, we do a COVID update for the board. Going into the summer, things have slowed down just a bit. We aren't having our regular COVID meetings with all the stakeholders. So, as far as where we're headed as a district, we're really in a holding pattern, waiting for the guidance. And as you know, the CDC guidance recently came down, and the DPH had a meeting scheduled for Tuesday. Then unfortunately they had to cancel. So the update that we had hoped to receive on Tuesday, we didn't really receive, but we did get information from the EHHD that shared that the concern right now is really the unvaccinated populations. And I think that's been the focus now of some of the advice from CDC, EHHD, and DPH. So there's just some conversations going on and data being shared, with respect to the unvaccinated populations. So some of the data that was shared from the health district I shared in this item with respect to the Delta variant, which you hear in the news, and where that's coming from, certain studies with respect to the Delta variant, why they're concerned about the Delta variant, what the CDC's recommendations are currently, that they put out, and then ultimately, where we may see this headed, as conversations we're having this week. You'll note that today, I believe, or very recently, the executive order was extended. And so Governor Lamont's, some of his executive orders or powers with respect to COVID-19 have been extended through September 30th, I believe. September 20th or 30th, I think it's the 30th. So, we can expect next week that the DPH will be dropping the guidance for the schools that we will ultimately have to start to incorporate. So we're kind of in that process of waiting. But the information that's being shared on that was shared in the COVID update. And then recently, information was shared about and from the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Journal of American Medical Association, and in the news, obviously some highlighting of the Delta variant is what people seem to be focusing on, and so on. So also included for the board for its consideration is some of the data and information about COVID itself that was shared, how COVID can impact the brain, how it does have sometimes a residual effect they're still trying to study in people that have had it. And this is driving a lot of the concern is that, COVID, when people are getting it, it does seem to have neurological and other impacts. And, so the Delta variant, which is more, that is stated to be more contagious is a reason for concern, especially for those unvaccinated populations. So, so that's essentially, in a nutshell, it. I won't belabor this stuff because it is, it's out there. People have seen it. The links are there, and these additional links I can also share. They came out just a little bit after. Information continues to be shared, though, about resources to look at with respect to, to where the conversation is kind of circling on this issue and who is driving it. So these are the organizations more or less driving it with their information, and we can expect next Tuesday, I hope next Tuesday, that we will receive some clear direction with respect to the schools. But some of the things we are noticing now is, for instance, school buses. The CDC seems to be saying that masks are necessary on school buses. And suggesting certain guidelines for unvaccinated that the DPH will likely be picking up and codifying for Connecticut and the districts in Connecticut, hopefully Tuesday. So we'll get some idea of what they're thinking.
Okay. We can go into the letter if you guys want to, and then we can have a full discussion, or if you want to have a discussion now about just what Dr. Willett presented, I'm open to either way.
I would just do it all at once.
Okay.
All right, so I can move to H4 here if you want.
Sure. Jacob.
And I'm sorry, I completely cut off Jacob. I'm sorry.
I was actually just raising my hand to say the same thing, Madhu. I think it makes sense to discuss it at the same time.
That's kind of where I was at too, just so that
Fair enough.
and we are condensing and we are taking everything on. Okay, so let's discuss then H4, the draft of the mask letter. Now this came out of the curriculum committee, communications, the other C one. And that was when did you want to walk us through, Flord or Sophia, both of you?
Yeah, I'll just state briefly, we had received so many emails and I think some comments at the Board of Ed meeting that we thought it was important to put it on the communications agenda and at least have a conversation as a board. This letter is in by no means, a decision on behalf of the board. The state obviously is going to, and DPH are going to give us the guidelines and the direction that we legally have to follow. So this comes more as an advocacy piece that I thought, I've gone rogue before and wrote my own letters. I thought it would be better to bring it to the communications committee and bring it to the entire board. And basically, Jacob had drafted it. I think it's pretty benign because it's focused on the advocacy for our students to take off the masks if the data presents that opportunity. So it shows our wishes, but at the same time, advocates for safety as well. I hear what everybody's saying, from the side of, everybody has individual circumstances and other people, myself included, I believe that masks work. And I may send my son if they were optional with a mask on if he was in a crowded classroom. So it gives the parents that choice. So long story short, it's here for you guys to, take a look at, peruse, decide if you'd like to sign it, not sign it, talk about it, but just really getting the conversation going in a friendly manner. And there are no right or wrong answers here.
Absolutely. I mean, the way that I read this, because obviously when I've talked to legal about this mask situation, she said like that at this point, she advises us not to take any sort of vote on an actual back to school plan because we could be out of compliance with what the state has to say. We have to follow what DPH comes out with, and therefore, this is our path, and we don't know what our path is yet because they take forever to make any kind of decisions. I will say, to me personally, that mask definitely worked because as soon as I was fully vaccinated, I did not wear my mask and I caught a cold and that was pretty quick, but that's just my personal thing. But I'm not in the health field, nor am I in the sciences. Therefore, I do leave that up to the DPH and CDC to let us know what we have to do. That's what my thoughts are. I have to be honest, I don't think that the letter that's written has a stance of, obviously if the cases remain low, and things of that nature. I did have a question in terms of, and this may not be even a question that could be answered, but can fully vaccinated staff not wear a mask? And if that could be an optional portion, like I don't know where that falls in this. So it's all kind of stuff that's been in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Right now, staff must wear masks when in the presence of children.
Even if they're fully vaccinated.
Yeah, that's how it is right at this moment.
And does that extend to the September 30th now with?
Well, I know it extends at least to July 20th, and the DPH meeting is July 20th. Whether the executive order is getting extended through September 30th or whatever, that's what I'm asking too at this moment in time.
Okay.
But I think we can expect that it probably will be. But the only group of people it's affecting right now are the summer academy students, and the staff that are working there. We're not going to have a typical school going until the beginning of September.
Okay. Let's go to Jacob.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. So a couple of points. Number one, I'm open to any sort of, thoughts up on this letter. It was something I didn't have a whole lot of time to draft, so I'm open to any suggestions. Also, I would not feel comfortable writing this letter if it were not for two things. Number one, COVID is much more deadly among the elderly population than it is among kids. Not saying that no one young can get it, but there's clearly a very big risk differential there. And number two, Connecticut has done an awesome job getting vaccinated, and we have very low cases at this point. And I think those are two big points that I would like to keep in mind, and is one reason why I feel like this is a reasonable step to take, that I think that we can, I think this advocacy is well placed. The final thing is I would just point out we are missing 3 board members. This is a rather contentious subject, so I might recommend that we wait a little bit to take a vote upon this, if we want to take a vote on it, because I think everybody should have an opportunity to weigh in on a subject that doesn't have, a deadline that's tomorrow or something like that. And that I'll be quiet for a minute.
I mean, in terms of not having board members, I know I had talked to Dr. Willett about that. And honestly, I mean, it does not have to come from a full board, depending on how people feel. I mean, it could just be the board members who feel they want to sign. That would be fine as well. We do have a quorum because I think we would need 5 in order to have a vote. So, I mean, we definitely certainly can still vote on this if we choose to move it to board action. As of right now, it's still just under our superintendent's report. So that's something to be considered as well. Let's go to Madhu.
Thank you. I had a few questions. So Dr. Willett, is it possible that at some point masks would be required in some schools, but not others? Is that?
I have heard that mentioned, that perhaps masks would be required in the schools that had populations that could not be vaccinated. So I had heard that. I don't know. I have no idea at this point what DPH is going to say next week. Sometimes when I've thought I knew what they were going to say, things were different than what I thought they were going to be. So what I can say is I have heard that. I've heard some conversations about, the populations that are able to be vaccinated, that group doesn't have to wear it, but the kids, any grades or schools that would include populations that could not be, AKA the pre-K to 5, would have to be. But again, that was out there. I heard that, but I don't know whether that is the direction they go in or not. And also what we've heard too, which you've probably seen in those CDC guidances, only those who are unvaccinated. That was another possibility out there. So that would, I guess, include all schools, but those are the things that we just need to get some clarification on, obviously, next Tuesday. Hopefully it'll be Tuesday.
So, I know this letter was, drafted prior to CDC, the updated CDC guidance coming out. is what's in the letter specifically with regard to the Delta variant. When we say when the letter says, we discuss minimal risk to children, is that still accurate, given the materials that we just had in H3?
I would suggest that we really need to sit back and wait until we get the the official word from DPH on how to process the information that's coming out now. There's a tremendous amount of information coming out right now about Delta and about some of the after effects, things like that. So I think we just it's important for us to, before making a lot of any kind of real comments on it, just really waiting for that DPH meeting to see what they're going to be saying, and then proceeding from there. That would be my suggestion, because I do think there's some information coming out that suggests it impacts populations across the board, especially those who have not been vaccinated. That's the issue. So, and that's their focus right now too, regardless of age group.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be prudent to, one, maybe retool this, based on, the CDC guidance that was issued, and, be prudent to wait to do that until guidance comes out. One point that did kind of jump out at me is, from some of the materials he says, we observed a growth that was being driven by younger age groups with 5 times higher rate of swab positivity among younger children ages 5 to 12. That kind of jumped out at me, specifically when it comes to the Delta variant. But I think that's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you, Madhu. Let's go to Dana.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. I just request, I know some people may have a hard time seeing the letter on the screen. So is there a way that one of the authors or someone from communications committee can read the letter aloud so everybody can hear it who's here this evening?
Who has a storytelling voice that would like to read the letter?
Is it in the packet or?
It
is as H4.
It's in the packet.
Yeah.
It's on the screen right there. Yeah, it's in the packet on the screen right now.
So no one wants to read the letter?
It's just going to take up more time.
I think it's a valid conversation piece.
I can read it.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Sophia.
Okay. Dr. Willett, do you want to scroll for me?
Sure. Yeah. How much of
Okay,
it can you see right now? Can you see to whom it may concern through subject?
Oh,
Can you see that?
You bet. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Thank you. To whom it may concern, the Tolland Board of Education requests that the state of Connecticut make mask wearing optional for all students and school staff for the 2021-2022 school year, provided that COVID-19 cases remain at low levels. Mask wearing, like all public health measures, have their time and place, but each measure also comes with costs. During the heat of the pandemic, those costs were justified. Many years from now, Americans will look back at this time we have respect for the great sacrifice students, parents, and teachers made to protect each other by quarantining, social distancing, and mask wearing. The board does not want to understate this point and believes that countless lives were saved by these measures. Luckily, vaccines had turned the tide of the pandemic, and deaths and case counts have plummeted in the past few months. This is something to be celebrated, but with each passing day, the costs of many public health measures, particularly mask wearing, become greater relative to the benefits they provide. The cost of wearing a mask are not trivial. Besides the discomfort experienced by the wearer, masks conceal the face, which is a focal point of human interaction. After the mask mandate was lifted for vaccinated individuals outside of school, many felt that the end of a dark era had arrived, that the most visible symbol of the pandemic that had caused so much death and pain was no more. For young students who have lived through a pandemic that has lasted more than a year, that is 20% of a kindergartner's life, the joy of seeing their friends' faces, of being back to normal, will be of enormous benefit to their mental health. Furthermore, even though the youngest students cannot be vaccinated as of writing this letter, it should be noted that Connecticut still has one of the highest vaccination rates in the country, and this protects everyone. Additionally, it is known that young children are the least likely to be severely affected by COVID-19, whereas the age group most affected, the elderly, are mostly vaccinated. These factors are incredibly important in determining the board's view on this subject. Safety will always be our top priority, but we believe that with the vastly improved outlook, we are ready to help our students' mental health recover by taking this step towards normalcy.
Yeah. Sophia, did you want to add any of your thoughts to the discussion?
I agree with Jacob in that I think it would be good to table this until we had more board members present. I also think it's a good idea and very prudent to wait to see what the Eastern Highland Health District guidelines are. If the meeting is, or if the answers are expected on Tuesday, I think passing this for another meeting, there's nothing lost in that. There's no imminent timeline on this. And I also think it should be reworked to reflect the current CDC guidelines.
Okay. Keep in mind that we do not have any other July meetings. We have the August meeting would be the next one, which would be the second Wednesday. We do have a break. So that would be a tough call to do in between. Because I did think about that whole tabling, but I almost feel as though if we are going to send a letter that we should probably do it sooner than later, but at the same time, like it does, stuff changes. You know, I just also think that students outside in masks, like coming up in September would be a little crazy, you know, just like things of that nature too. So, you know, there's just a lot to think about.
There is a lot, and I think there's no clear right answer, and that's what makes it so difficult.
Yeah, just a quick point. The DPH, the meeting that is coming up is the 20th. They seem like they have scheduled 3 meetings: the 20th, the 27th, and the 3rd. So the 20th is the one that is coming right up on us, and we're really hoping they have, you know, some guidance. But sometimes that can get pushed off to the next meeting or the next. So it may be, it's possible that we would only have partial or not all the guidance until like August 3rd. So that's a possibility. Right now, we're all hoping it comes the 20th.
Okay, because August 3rd, I'm just looking at the calendar. Our next meeting would technically be
the 11th, right?
11th. Okay, so I don't think there's probably any harm with waiting for that. Let's see what our members have to say. Jacob?
Yeah, a couple points. I guess I like people have said, I don't see a problem holding it off a little bit as long as it, you know, we act on it before the beginning of school, because that's kind of the point. You know, the way how I see it with regards just to the Delta variant, my own personal thoughts is I still, you know, if it turns out that the Delta variant is really deadly towards children, as deadly as it was to elderly people, or you know, something close to that, then I will completely rescind everything I say. I guess my thought is it's kind of like with vaccine guidance that we were getting, you know, for several months earlier up in the spring, that was loosened, I think, up in May. You know, it's not like something just drastically changed the day before that new guidance was released. It was just that they reevaluated things. And I think that that's kind of how I feel like with this letter. You know, I think I saw from the CDC that, from cdc.gov, that 300 kids have made under the age of 17 have died from COVID-19 since the pandemic began. That number is over 300,000 for people over the age of 75. And that's kind of where I'm going with this as to why I think that this is a necessary step, just to reiterate that point. But again, you know, if new data comes out, then I will be on a completely different side of this issue.
Okay, Lord?
So I just wanted to say, I think in terms of advocacy, sooner is better than later, but I do agree that we should have all 9 board members be able to talk about it and discuss it. And I guess I wouldn't have a problem waiting for the next meeting. My other thought process was in terms of the different variants, you know, what Jacob had said, there's always going to be something new coming out. I don't think this pandemic is really ever going away, or this virus is ever going to go away. So the utmost priority is keeping the schools open and keeping the kids safe. But in terms of advocacy, I think at the end of the day, you know, we want our kids to be able to have that normal school life. You know, and every family's different. So by giving them that choice, you know, that's where the advocacy piece comes in with the letter. And it's not, you know, trying to go around CDC or the guidelines or DPH or the school system. It's really just how, you know, we feel as a board, you know, and letting DPH know that, and they can come back and tell us no. But I think it's important sooner rather than later to get that out there.
Okay, let's go to Joe.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I understand the wanting to get it out there. I understand the advocacy part of it. But I mean, the deal here too is we get one shot at this, you know, and we have to have all the information in order to write, you know, a letter that, you know, that has, you know, at least more factual data, you know. I get the need and the reason for it, but there's still more data that needs to come out, and I do want to see guidance before we send out something like this. That's it.
Thank you, Madhu. Dina?
Thanks. Well, I mean, this is such a difficult subject to have because there are so many strong feelings on all sides of the fence with this. What I'd like to say, and I hear what everybody is saying about advocacy, and you know, as a Board of Ed, we're supposed to be advocating for our children of Tolland, the children of Tolland, and our staff of Tolland Public Schools for their safe environment, you know, a good education for all students across the board, equitable education, you know, education cost sharing, granting that we should get from the states. Those are some things that we should really be focusing as a Board of Ed to advocate for, in addition to, you know, the experiences that our children have in the schools. We don't have any authority with what the direction of the CDC or the EHHD or the state of Connecticut or a local health district have. I do understand everyone's desire to have our kids not wear masks. I don't want to have my kids wear masks. It's hot, it's not fun, it's a pain, but they do it. However, we must rely on our medical experts' advice in the medical, how the medical issues impacts the exposure at this time, and any variances that are still being researched. I know that, I mean, I'm not a medical expert. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a practitioner. So that's why I rely on the CDC and those health experts for guidance. At this point, I don't have enough information to act on this matter. So at this point, I'd be declining to participate in an appeal of letter for the community, or currently, the letter currently, because it's not reflecting the entire community. Once more information is made available, I'm happy to discuss this again. I think it's very important that we discuss it thoroughly with the entire team. This is a health issue that we need to leave this to the health experts. The Board of Ed represents 15,000 people in Tolland and over 2,200 students in Tolland Public Schools. With that said, there's no one single letter the 9 of us can co-write that could possibly represent the entire Tolland Public School community, nor the entire Tolland community as a whole. So although we want to advocate for some folks with no masks, we also need to ensure that we're advocating for those folks that are requesting the masks and are desiring the masks for their students. It's our job to look at it as a whole and the entire umbrella. I would encourage all Tolland residents, family members, neighbors, educators, staff member, whomever, to reach out to our state representatives with their respective feelings on the issue. That's how your voices are going to be heard. I did read every email. I hear you. It's conflicting. the masks versus no masks. As I don't know who said it, I think Madhu said there's no right answer on this because everybody's family is different. But I think we need to be cognizant that we represent the entire community of Tolland. So advocating for one side or the other and signing this as a representative of Tolland Board of Education, I don't think would be in our best interest to represent our entire community that we're elected to represent. So I also think, I don't know who said it, and again, I was just taking notes as people were talking. Someone said 300 kids, children passed away with COVID. That's 300 too many. It could be less versus the 300,000. Yeah, it's a great difference, but that's just too many. So we need to be cognizant. We've followed the science through this whole process. Let's keep listening to the experts and let's wait for the guidance before we can really make a stance on it. I think right now it's kind of premature. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dana. So what I'm thinking about is taking this letter and actually kicking it back to the communications committee so that we can revamp and renew with the new information from CDC or DPH. Obviously, as it stands right now, that last meeting would be the August 3rd. So we should have some more information for the August 11th. So would the communications committee be meeting prior to that August 11th meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I might have to do a special meeting if I'm off the week. I might be off the week we have the set meeting. So I'll take a look at it, but we'll definitely meet before the 11th.
Okay, so why don't we do this? You know, obviously, I mean, we are in a rock and a hard place. Like it's very difficult to try to decide which path is the correct way. You know, we aren't healthcare experts. We aren't scientists. I mean, I definitely know how I just feel in terms of having kids wearing them or not. I do think that, like I think a few people have said that, you know, if we can revamp it a little bit and just have more actual information in terms of the Delta variant, you know, let's just see what other information comes out from CDC and we'll have a little bit more guidance. You know, obviously we can't sit here and say no masks or masks, like that's just not in our purview. Like I said, so I think that this best would wait for the meetings to take place and so we can have a little bit more information to make a informed decision about this letter. So are we feeling okay with that decision? I think we're looking like see a lot of head shakings and nods. So I think that would be the best solution right now. Okay. So communication committee, Christina and Sophia, it's back in your court. Okay, so let's move on to the committee and liaison reports. Communications, do you want to start since we just had that letter that we discussed, I guess? If you would like to discuss more or no? No, Lord, Sophia, no communications? Okay. Negotiations, well, Rini is not here, but as you can tell from our updated agenda, we will have K4, the secretary's contracts. Coming up, we have the curriculum. I saw the agenda coming on for that, Madhu and Jacob. And FFC is taking the summer off, correct, Dr. Willett? We don't have a FFC meeting coming up. How about the
August, yeah.
okay, August. How about the mental health task force? Do we have any updates on that?
We are meeting next Monday.
Next Monday. Yep. Okay, at this time, am I missing any liaisons or committees? Oh, Birch Grove, well, we have the swing set. Do you want to add some more stuff to it?
No, there's nothing. We have meetings every week. Nothing much to add right now. It's just the final space.
And I'll move on to the chairperson's report, which I didn't even think about doing because I said this meeting, we have a lot of stuff to review. So let's keep on trucking along. So let's go to board action and we have the Birch Grove swing set. Dr. Willett, if you want to review that.
Yep, I'll cue it up, and I believe Katie Murray's here tonight as well. So this is presented to the board, the swing set package for the Birch Grove project, very similar to what you've seen with other things that have come up, phase 4 and 5. And these technology packages, it's a similar arrangement. You do see that it's been reviewed by a civil engineer. The optimal location has been placed. The playground vendor has been providing all new equipment information for the project. The professional cost estimate is being compiled. The Birch Grove Committee has seen it. And the Office of School Construction and Grants approves the swing package. JCJ is working with the construction company for all the final pricing. And there's a motion, as you've seen with other aspects of the Birch Grove project, for the board to take a look at tonight. There's a recommended motion if you feel you can do it. And the materials are attached. And if you click on those links, it'll bring you to the folder and then ultimately to all of the different materials that relate to this particular request, and even some additional things. So I don't know if I want to give the floor to Ms. Murray just to make a few comments.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. This is another procedure required of us by the state. The district has expressed the need for a swing set, and due to some unforeseen series of events, the old swing set is no longer available to us. So we're going to find out if a new swing set would be eligible for reimbursement, and that's what we're asking you to do tonight, is to procedurally approve so that we can have our meeting and find out.
Okay, let's go to Jacob. Jacob, you are muted. There you go.
No, I'm not. So I couldn't get the hyperlinks to work for whatever reason up on my packet. So you're looking into how much it would cost. Do we have kind of a ballpark guess as to how much it would be?
Yeah, the cost estimate that's in there is, I believe it's $80,000 or $90,000. It's a considerable expense due to the site work that would need to be done in order to place the swing set, as it's sort of, it would go next to the current playground, the new playground, but it is sort of downhill from the upper field where the modulars are now. And so there's a drainage issue that is going to be a little bit of money. And I'm excited that we are considering including this in the Birch Grove project, because as you guys know, we get 89% reimbursement for every dollar we spend. So if this is something that the district might need to move forward with anyway, the building committee would at least like to see if we can find the funds for it within our $46 million budget. So that would save Tolland a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm not against it. I was just curious. I have to ask. It always just amazes me. Like it's much more expensive than you think it would be. But this is the only swing set that we would have. There wouldn't be another swing set if we didn't put this in, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Dana?
I just wanted to add, because when I saw the ticket price, I was taken aback, Jacob. And it's actually the actual swing set itself isn't by any means close to that price. It is, like Katie said, it's a lot of the pre-work. But I was wondering if Dr. Willett would mind, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, because I know that Mr. Swanson and some of the special education teachers and some of the educators in Birch Grove had spoke to the building committee in regard to the educational aspects that a swing set brings to teaching the whole student.
Sure, and I had included a letter at one point to the Birch Grove Committee with respect to swing sets. And I believe that there was always this feeling that this was going to be available because the prior one was, and then there was kind of a blip where it wasn't going to be, which is what brought us to today. There are students that have certain developmental needs where the swing set is actually an optimal way of helping them not only socialize but get physical activity. And so there is a population of students that really need a swing set in a playscape arrangement. They benefit greatly from it. It has sensory and motor benefits. I won't go into all the stuff that was in the letter, but the letter in the minutes of the Birch Grove meeting, I think, goes into all of the aspects of the sensory and motor benefits that the swing sets provide, even socialization aspects. So, you know, it may sound like, oh, it's just a swing set, but in a larger school program, it's really the thing that some students can do with that have certain exceptionalities when they really cannot do some of the other things. So it is a very important part of a playscape so that all populations of students can be served.
Okay, any further questions? Because we do have to put the motion on to the floor, and then we can still have discussion if everyone's feeling comfortable at this time. I will entertain a motion.
Jacob Mari, I move to approve the final Birch Grove swing set plans and project manuals as prepared for bidding and dated June 28, 2021, including the professional cost estimate, which is within the 46 million total project cost for the State Office of School Construction Grants and Review project number 142-0083N. This motion authorizes the Chair of the Board of Education and Superintendent of Schools to sign State Forms SCG-042, request for review of final plans.
Christina Port, second.
Okay, any further discussion at this time? If not, we will go to a roll call vote. Let's start off with Dana.
Yes.
Jacob?
Aye.
Madhu?
Aye.
Thank you. Plord?
Aye.
Via?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, this is all set and can be signed. Motion approved as is. Okay, let's go to our second meeting format. So let's have a discussion about this. Dr. Willett, do you want?
Yeah, so queuing it up, sorry, the PDFs are running really slow today and they crashed a few times. So here's, if hopefully everybody can see this. So yes, K2 is the meeting format. Executive order expired on June 30th. The Senate Bill 1202 or implementer bill passed in the House and the Senate gives new public agencies as of July 1st, 2021, extending through April 30th, the ability to hold meetings accessible to the public by means of electronic equipment, as we are doing now. So there's an option. I won't read every word on this, but just to kind of highlight it, now you have a choice. The board has a choice. The board can do one of three options. Option one, public meetings could go back fully in person. There's some pros and cons shared from the meeting that the town had on this. Option two is that the public meetings could stay fully remote. Again, pros and cons that were shared from the public meeting on this. And then option three is hybrid, pros and cons of hybrid. And these pros and cons are not, are not all encompassing, but they are what was shared on the town meetings on the subject. So these choices lay before the board at this time to decide how it would like to move forward with its meeting formats. I can answer any questions that you have on that, and I am prepared to do it however which way the board sees fit. I have the technology set aside. We're working on the plan to make it work in the library. The town hall has already retrofitted its its chamber on the 6th floor there for for its purposes. So we are ready to do what the board feels is necessary, no matter what the board's decision is. But that's essentially the three choices right now the board has, and we're up to you as a board to decide which way you want to go.
I would like to just say that in terms of the chamber is ready, and most of the main boards and have decided to go hybrid, just to let you know. Obviously there's pros and cons to all of these. If we do go to fully remote, I will say if someone asks within 24 hours, we would have to provide a room and equipment and staff for someone if we decide to go that route. It kind of seemed like it was a whole big thing, and it's not like we can just stay like how we are fully remote. We would have to provide another option for someone within 24 hours. And then once I send, where are we placing them? How are we getting equipment? And what staff are we using? Obviously, the fully back in person would be how we used to run meetings prior to. And the hybrid approach, I don't know if anyone watched the town council meeting last night, but it was interesting. And we did have one meeting throughout this that we had, I think it was the goal setting. We did the hybrid in the library at the high school, and it was interesting because it was hard to, hear everybody, and it was an interesting interesting ordeal. I'm hoping that maybe perhaps it would be a little bit better than what we had, because it was very difficult for us to in person to hear what was on the screen and vice versa. But supposedly there's this owl that kind of spins around and can go to the person who's talking in person. And then, like I said, we'd have to figure out, they had a screen up last night with the boxes for Zoom. And so it was interesting to watch because I watched it on TV. I was not a Zoom member, but I just watched it on TV to see how it came up and what the owl was doing, because I was kind of curious. So yeah, at this point, let's just have a discussion and go from there. Okay, let's go to Jacob.
So I'm consistent with my support, with the letter and everything. I'm not in favor of staying fully remote. I think that this meeting has been a good example of why we should not do that, with poor Lisa getting bumped off because of bad internet, and then lots of flags with PowerPoints and all sorts of issues like that. I think we had to do it for the time being, but I don't think that is a good idea to do currently. Ideally, I'd love to see us back fully in person. I understand that some have a desire for the hybrid, and I know that that's what a lot of other boards have done, but I'm concerned that if we go down that route, we are going to have lots of technical difficulties. And also, I was particularly concerned about something that was in the board packet about staff being distracted throughout the meeting because they were more focused up on running the tech than they were on actually participating in the meeting. I know Dr. Willett has a lot on his plate, and when we have a meeting with him, I want to make sure that that is a very productive use of our time. And I'm concerned that if he is kind of distracted with that, and I have seen that up in some of our committee meetings, which have been hybrid, that they're not going to be as productive as we'd like them to be. So, I'll play with the team, with whatever the team wants to go, but my preference is fully in person.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. Let's go to Sophia.
My preference would be the hybrid approach. I just think these meetings have given our community, made these meetings more accessible to our community. We've had a lot more participants and observers, and I think that's great because we're here for our community. So I just think the hybrid approach would be the best thing.
Okay, thank you, Sophia. I mean, I'll admit, I definitely have gone to more meetings just because I can, interact on my computer. It is kind of cool, but I do understand the technical difficulties as well because that's definitely occurred. Let's go to Madhu.
So thank you. I'm also more inclined to the hybrid option. The engagement has been, next level. So I do appreciate that. So I guess more of a technical question is, if we go with one option, are we stuck with that for any certain point in time, or do we have the right to change? Like, let's say the hybrid option, it's too cumbersome from a technological standpoint. And, Jacob's right, we can't function, or we don't have effective meetings. Do we have to, can we give, or do we reserve the right to change to fully in person or fully remote, or?
You know, that is a very good question. And is Dr. Willett, did he just disappear?
I think he did.
He fell off right
Yeah,
when Jacob was talking about technical issues.
I will tell you, I've been having internet issues all day. Like, you know, I keep getting this notice that my internet connection's unstable.
Unstable. Yeah, no, me too. But I think it has, I think there's water in the lines. I got to be honest. I think there's like in those little junction box, I think they're flooded with water because it's been awful. But yeah, so see, now here we are with Dr. Willett. But that is a question that I had raised. I was wondering that too, because this is going to extend through, you know, April 30th. So what happens if we decide, you know, this is much, because I'll be honest, like we had the hybrid in the library. I'm hoping that things maybe came a little bit further. But I mean, it was difficult to have those conversations and have stuff. But at the same time, you know, with technology, I love it because I've definitely been to more meetings. You know, it's easier, it is accessible, and it's great. But then it just stinks when the technology is not on your side.
No, I mean, you know, that's very true. I mean, if I had to hazard, or actually, you know, now that I think about this, does the extension of the executive orders also pertain to?
That's what I'm wondering as well. I'm not sure because that's a whole new thing that came out today. You know, I didn't push this onto our agenda last time because we had a packed agenda and it was, okay, here's this thing, all of a sudden it like dropped on our lap, like you need to decide. And I'm like, well, for this meeting, we can certainly just keep on with the remote and just really have a discussion. And, you know, who's to say that we do say, you know, we have hybrid and then there are issues, can we, you know, choose a different option? I don't know what the actual.
I mean, I'd have to hazard a guess that, you know, prior to the announcement of any, you know, meetings or something like that, or prior to the publishing of any agenda, yeah, we would have to say, hey, this is going to be fully in person, or this is to have to be, you know, this is a hybrid, or this is fully remote. You know, that would be my guess, but you know, that's all it really is just a guess.
Yeah.
And I'm also just vamping for time, hoping Dr. Willett gets back on.
Absolutely. Well, let's see what Plord has to say. We'll keep on.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see the hand. Sorry. I'm done.
Oh, no problem. I'm also leaning towards hybrid. I mean, originally I thought fully in person, you know, just to go back to our normal, but if Walt says he has the equipment and we could make it work, I think it would be awesome, especially, you know, even with our committees, you know, if we have hybrid, then, you know, we can zoom in and out of committee meetings too. So it just makes things more flexible for even us board members to do work, because it's a lot of time. And, you know, and if you don't have drive time to get back to the Board of Ed office and you can, you know, take the Zoom, you know, at work or in your car, it's definitely helpful. But if it ends up being a technology disaster, I would like the hopes of going back to the full in person. And it looks like Walt came back. Maybe you could tell us if the implementer law is permanent or if that's temporary.
Let him get set up here for a second.
You got that, Walt?
Oh no, we can't hear you. We can see you.
No. My vote is in person.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I don't even. There's a power outage here. I'm sorry. I totally lost everything. Everything.
Well, here's a couple questions that came up. If we decide to go with the, say we pick like the hybrid, because I think, you know, we still have to talk to Dana. She didn't get a chance to talk because we were just going through. But the questions that we did come up with is, if we picked an approach, do we have to stick with it, or can we switch it and at least give like a 24-hour notice for the meeting if we decide to go a different path?
It's a great question. I'd have to check with Jessica or check on that. I think you can make, as long as you give people enough notice. I mean, I think you can change your format, but I think there'd probably be a notice aspect to it. You'd have to give a certain amount of notice.
And the second question is, did the executive order push this out?
You know, I don't think the executive order will push this out. The executive order, the implementer bill goes through April, And the executive order powers of the governor goes through September 30th. So this thing goes further than what Governor Lamont has done at this point. I think April is the farthest out anything is going at the moment. And that's the timeline of this is through April.
Okay, let's talk to Dana.
I will say that for the Birch Grove Building Committee, we decided to stay full remote, just simply because we are having meetings every week and they're fast and furious, and we don't have a lot of public participation. Sadly, there's zero. So, you know, as an access and reality to get that done, that was just some feedback from another board that I'm on. So I just wanted to share that. I did attend the planning and zoning meeting via Zoom, and it was in the council room. Getting used to the owl was kind of, like, I didn't know what it was at first, that they were following the person. I think that it would behoove us, if we did go hybrid, to watch our fellow boards meetings, to kind of take advice from them, because what I found difficult was the owl, like someone was on this side of the room talking, and then someone, I don't want to say out of turn, but engage them in a conversation, and then someone over here, and then someone over here. Like, it wasn't I wouldn't say controlled, but it was, the owl was going like this, and get motion, you know, and it was hard to hear. So I think that if we were to do hybrid, that we would need to be cognizant of, you know, each person speaking and then go to the next person speaking, and ensure that we articulate pretty well. I definitely know that I was one of the folks on Zoom when some of the folks were in the library, and once some people enunciated, or we joked about using a megaphone, I think. It was tough to acclimate to, but I think we made adjustments so that we could all hear each other.
Yeah, we yelled.
Yeah, you yelled. And then what's daunting is that we were on this huge big screen, probably bigger than you ever want yourself to be.
Sophia can attest to the
right.
Jumbotron.
We're also Sophia on the Jumbotron, but I definitely think that we need to be cognizant of the fact that the hybrid option allows folks to participate remotely that wouldn't be able to necessarily participate. So folks that have disabilities, folks that have children, folks that are, you know, in the middle of dinner, folks that have, you know, maybe they're on their lunch break because they're the second shift and they can take it on their lunch break. It just opens up the opportunity for a variety of our folks in town to attend a meeting and participate, whether it be in public participation or just listening to it live. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of tech issues, I agree, but I don't think it's something that we can overcome. I mean, it is the wave of the future. I mean, when I was growing up, I was listening to 8 tracks, and now it's a thing that doesn't even, like, it's something that's like this big that can play your music. So I definitely think that we can continue and move forward with the resources that are available with us. Yes, do I want to task Dr. Willett with it? So I obviously think we would need to work with him to ensure that he can engage in our thing, in our meeting. But I think it's the best way to keep the community involved, because that's really what we're here for.
Yeah, no, I think from learning from our, you know, our library time, I think if we do the hybrid approach, I almost think it's beneficial to have still your technology and logging on to Zoom, but even if you mute and, you know, just to see, you know, because I go through the participants with raising hands and going through, I mean, you still, you know, Dr. Willie, you're still going to have let people in if on the Zoom. Like, I mean, there's still a lot of things that we have to work out, but I think by having an electronic, still being able to see who the participants are, raising their hands, I mean, especially if you have board members in a room, you have board members on remote, like, you still want to be able to mix and have everything situated. And I do think that we can do it. It's just, you know, there's going to be growing pains. Technology growing pains, I think, is a good way of putting it. Flora?
I was just gonna say, maybe communications or some of the committee meetings could do, like, use the owl, do our meetings hybrid, you know, and test it out and get kind of, you know, a feel for it before we have a whole board meeting with it.
We can do that in my office. I have, I've got what we need to do it. It's just getting used to it. So.
Okay.
So we will plop the owl in the middle of the table and go for the committee, because we have until August, so we can see other boards execute the hybrid and see, learn from them and kind of go from there. Dina?
Yeah, I'm all for let the other boards work out the kinks. But I definitely think too, if we're in the council chambers or we're in the library, it would behoove us to ensure that we're all on the screen too. I know that it's not afforded to us in Dr. Willett's office because just the way the table is and spacing and sitting, we're not able to all be on that Zoom or not on that Zoom. So I think it being in the council and inside or if we were to be able to use a library, that affords us the opportunity to be all engaged.
Well, they have anytime that we've had the meeting in Dr. Willett's office, on the screen in his office have all the members that were talking and speaking on there. So even when we did the interviews, we were able to kind of go like Brady Bunch through.
And the owl will now be able to be used in my office as well.
Well, I'm talking about like the people who are sitting I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. The people who are sitting at the table, like the ones who are closest to the television in his class, in his office. If you're watching it from Zoom, you only see Dr. Willett, and typically like where you sit, Ashley, you see the first 2, maybe 3 participants, and then the rest of the board is kind of closer to that. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry, I wasn't clear.
So it's the actual in-person people, not the Zoom. I thought you were talking about the Zoom.
Sorry, I wasn't clear. I wasn't clear, sorry.
Okay, so the temperature of the room that I'm taking is leaning, I think people are leaning toward the hybrid. So I believe that we can do a vote. We can have, did you have a motion on this? Yes.
I did. Yeah, right here.
Okay, so if somebody would like to make a motion for the hybrid, that would be great.
Badira Nutella, make a motion to adopt a hybrid meeting style.
He has
Oh, you have one said. Okay. In accordance with, make a motion that in accordance with State Senate Bill 1202, the Tolland Board of Education will practice the hybrid meeting method for the period of July through April 30th, 2022.
Christina Plord, second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, I will carry on with the roll call vote. So Dana?
Aye.
Plord?
Aye.
Madhu?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Jacob?
Nay.
What was that? Aye or nay?
It was a nay.
A nay, okay. Aye, so majority, it passes with the hybrid model. Okay. Let's move on to K3, the calendar for the ER days.
Right. So as you recall, the last board meeting, we did talk about early ER day, early release editions. There was a conversation originally of 7, board asked to reduce to 5, board asked to reduce further, policy committee did meet on it, and then it came back to the Board of Ed tonight for a second reading. Currently, it has been reduced to 3 additional ones, October 6th, January 12th, June 9th. So this is a second read. That link does bring you to the prototype calendar for this, and so those dates are listed in blue on the prototype calendar. Can you see the calendar when I move it onto the screen here?
It's very, very small.
Yeah. So tough part about Zoom here is blow it up and you won't see it all, but essentially these 3, I think I can get them all on the screen. The light blue is where they're added. So I think you can see that. So October 6th, January 12th, and June 8th.
Okay. At this time, do any board members have any of the questions for Dr. Willett along these 3 days? If not, we will go forward and have a motion to approve the additional days. So if anybody would like to make the motion.
Badoo and Nugent, motion to approve the addition of the October 6th, January 12th, June 8th early release days to the 2021-2022 Tolland Public School calendar.
Dana Feldman,
Sophia,
second.
okay, second.
Go ahead, give it to Sophia, Lisa.
Any further discussion? Would any board members have anything that they would like to say prior to casting a vote? No? Okay, so let's do the roll call vote. So Dana.
Aye.
Flor.
Nay.
Madhu.
Aye.
Sophia.
Aye.
And Jacob.
Nay.
I'm an aye as well. So we have, hold on a second. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it does have majority. We don't need the 2/3 for this, right?
No, I think majority.
Majority. Okay, perfect. With the majority, we will add the 3 release days on the October 6th, 12th, and 8th. Okay, secretary contracts, K4.
So, so essentially, you know that the negotiations team worked very hard, working on a number of different contracts this year, including bargaining with the secretary's bargaining unit, which is the UPSU bargaining unit, and did ultimately come to a final agreement with them. Just go over the highlights of those tonight really quick, and then there is a motion. The secretarial union or clerical union, which is when I say UPSU, it's the United Public Service Employees Union, and it's the Tolland clerical employees, which are the secretaries. They voted on the 12th and approved the agreement, and so now it is in front of the board for the board to approve. The document is large and it's been posted, but you can see the summary basically here. It's a 4-year duration. It's got wages of 2.9, 2.25, 2.25, 2.25 for those 4 years. Vacation arrangements were changed slightly in terms of when they get the first week. After a year, they'll get the first week. Prior, you would get the week after. You would get a week in the first 6 months, then a week after that. So this is actually a little bit more conservative. Insurance is a 50% deductible over the period of the last contract. It went from basically 72 to 60 to 75 to 62 to 50. And so it's doing 50% deductible. It's funding 50% of the deductible for the secretaries for the duration of the contract. That's keeping it as it was in 2020, 2021. So in the last contract, it was walked down to 50%, and it remains at 50% for the duration of the contract. Premium medical costs and dental vision are 16.5%, 17, 17, and 17 for this bargaining unit. That is the employee share. And the selection and appointment of vacancies was updated in the contract as well. So there are some benefits for the Board of Education regarding vacation, grievances, and posting, and those language adjustments were made. So it's been looked at as a very positive contract change. It's a very competitive contract, meaning it's good for the Board of Education, good for the town of Tolland, because it is, it's, if you look at the comparative data on it, the secretaries are fairly compensated, but not at the highest and not at the lowest. So it's a good place for the secretaries to be. And it keeps our district competitive, keeps our staff here, but it's not excessive and it's reasonable. So the secretarial unit did vote on it and approved it, and it is in front of the board now for the motion to approve. Now, and keep in mind that the negotiations committee also negotiated this and approved it as well.
So at this time, would any board members have anything they would like to add or ask any questions in terms of the contract? To me personally, I think that's why we have the subcommittees, and it was Rini, Sophia, and Dina that were on the negotiations. I trust you guys. I know you guys did a good job. So any questions before we go into the motion? Okay, I will entertain a motion that you have somewhere to just approve the contract.
Yep, it's right here. Motion to accept the bargaining and agreement. Can you all see this?
Yeah, my participation little block.
I'll do it, Ashley. This is Dana. I'd like to make a motion to accept the bargaining unit agreement between the Board of Education and the Tolland Clerical Employees, United Public Service Employees Union, extending from July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2025.
Christina Plord, second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, we will move on to the vote. Dana?
Aye.
Lord?
Aye.
Nabil?
I appreciate the work they've done. Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, so this motion passes unanimously. So the secretary's contract is set to be signed. Okay. So at this time, we are moving into public participation, which is another 2-minute time limit. And the comments must be limited to items on the agenda. If you could, please raise your hand and state your name and address for the record. And you will have 2 minutes, and Jacob will provide you with the 30 seconds for a visual and vocal. So let's go to Sarah.
Hello?
Yep.
Do I have to restate my name and everything, even though I spoke already?
Absolutely.
Excuse me?
Yes, yes, you do.
Oh, Sarah Briggs, 157 Anderson Road, Tolland.
Continue.
And, okay. Just in light of not voting on the letter tonight and saying that it doesn't speak for the entire community, I disagree with that. I believe making masks optional technically makes everyone happy. To talk about possibly segregating the children depending on vaccination status brings a whole set of different problems on its own, and I don't agree with that at all. There will always be variance. I say if it's left up to the district, then if we have a high vaccine rate and a low positivity rate, then there's no justification for masking our kids all day. If there is an increase in cases, then the district can adjust accordingly. I think we should let our kids have a normal school year and focus on their education instead of fear of becoming sick. I also want to add that the flu and RSV cause many more deaths in young children every year. I'm more worried about those, to be honest with you. And there's never been any masking for either one of those viruses or a vaccine mandate for either one of those. So I just wanted to add those points that I didn't get to say earlier.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go to Jeff.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Jeff Ruiz, 427 Buff Cap Road. Couple points. I think the hybrid model for meetings is excellent. I think maybe you need to look into maybe some of the tech kids or something like that to help you through the process. I know when my mother runs into a problem with her iPhone, she works with my 9-year-old to fix it. So you guys have some great people at your immediate disposal that I'm sure would be willing to help for meetings and anything like that. One question I did have about the building committee for Birch Grove, the playground, if it was destroyed or we need a new one, where'd the old one go? And what's the status of that? And then back to the vaccine stuff and masks. Kids 12 and under, or excuse me, 12 and older are supposed to get it. But for the younger kids, we still don't know what the long-term side effects are. You know, you have the Johnson & Johnson that are running into neurological problems on top of the blood clots. I think I'd like grandkids at some point. After having kids, I'm not sure, but we'll see how that goes. So, you know, hopefully you guys aren't going to tell my child what they need to wear for a floaty in a pool, but somehow you're going to manage to do it with a mask when they go to school and try and learn. So I hope you guys make a good decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Let's go to Julie.
Hi, this is Julie Kleinberg. I'm at 35 Stephanie Lane. And just wanted to thank you for this opportunity to speak. I just have a couple comments on the masks. And one of the things that was mentioned was just about advocacy. And I just don't want to lose the point that the best advocates for our children are their parents. To have that freedom taken away to choose as a parent is just starting to become unbearable. Whether our children will be masked or not, whether they will be vaccinated or not, that's, you know, a parent's choice. It's very concerning to me how kids would be treated in school if they were not vaccinated. And that was obvious by requiring those children to wear masks. I think that would be very concerning. I don't understand the need to operate this coming year the same way we did last year, when our COVID numbers are so low, the vaccination rates are so high. Just the thought of the kids returning to school for hours in a day wearing masks just is not normal. My son came home last year and told me that they were punished. They lost recess time if anybody didn't have or pulled their mask down. If they had to pull their mask down, they lost minutes of recess. And I just feel that our situation in Connecticut is good. The CDC doesn't provide guidance by state. They say for local officials and for the conditions in your state. And in Connecticut, it's awesome. All of the neighboring states have relaxed the mandates. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. At this time, are there any members of the public who would like 2 minutes to speak? Please raise your hand or star 9 if you're on the phone. Because if not, we're going to close the public participation and we will move to points of information. If any board members at this time would like to make any comments, please feel free to raise your hand and we will go from there. Madhu.
Thank you. I mean, I stress that it's not, this again, isn't a decision that the Board of Education makes. This is a decision that's made at the state level by the Department of Public Health and the Eastern Highland Health Districts. Just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that. That was it.
Okay, thank you, Madhu. Let's go to Jacob.
Yeah, just to the parents and people who spoke, I really do understand your concern. I empathize with it. I wish we could have done something tonight. Unfortunately, you know, that's just me. There are 8 other people on the board, and it wasn't able to happen tonight. But I want to continue to work up on this, and hopefully we can continue to have some discussions on this, because I do believe that we need to treat our students differently than we treat the more vulnerable populations, and I do believe that it is a point. We are at a point where we can make the mandate an option rather than something that is required.
Thank you, Jacob. Let's go to Plord.
I just wanted to thank everyone for speaking tonight. We'll continue to work on the letter so we can get an advocacy letter that hopefully all 9 board members can stand behind. But I just ask you guys, you know, whatever your beliefs are, to advocate for them as well. Because like Madhu said, this decision isn't ours. We have to adhere to the laws, and we have to implement whatever, you know, those laws say, or we get in trouble over here too. So, you know, we're here to listen and definitely appreciate all the emails and public comment.
Okay, perfect. Dr. Will, did you have anything to add?
No.
Oh, I just saw that Dana raised her hand. So Dana?
Yeah, first of all, I do want to thank, I'm always very appreciative of everybody who comes and attends the meetings and gets involved with public participation and emails, because it's paramount that we hear from the entire community. I definitely think, I want to reiterate what Christina said. You know, it is paramount that you reach out to your state representatives and advocate for you and your family. As Madhu said, unfortunately, this is not anything that the majority of Ed has authority over. I mean, we can write letters, we can advocate on behalf of certain issues and certain things, but it is not a decision that we can make as a Board of Education for the town of Tolland. As far as the Birch Grove Playscape, I believe that was Jeff who asked about that. The Birch Grove Playscape, so we're talking about specifically the swing set. The original swing set was supposed to stay on the premises. It had to be moved. And when it was moved, it was unable to be safely reinstalled and utilized. So that swing set that we're talking about this evening has not been relocated anywhere. It was not able to be put back on Birch Grove for safety reasons, which wasn't in the original plan. It was originally supposed to be on the premises, if I'm not mistaken, with the swing set, Dr. Willett.
Yeah, and just not to be confused by, there were parts of a playscape that were moved, but
Right.
they were put back on other town property. The swing set itself was destroyed by the process, which is why they were looking to get another swing set.
And that's what we were talking about this evening when Ms. Murray talked about bringing the funding request or bringing the reimbursement request to the state, was the swing set and the pre-work that needed to be done with the drainage and the property in order to get that done. I hope that answers. And although we don't get a lot of public participation and involvement, I hope that we do get some. And they are still Zoom meetings every Tuesday at 6:30.
Okay, thank you guys. We definitely had a lot of public participation, which is great because having the hybrid model, we can do that. So guys, this is going to be interesting as we venture into the hybrid model next meeting. So thank you all. At this time, we are going to, they're going to the executive session for the purpose of the superintendent's evaluation. So I wish everybody a good night. You can go into the waiting room, and then when we come out, it pretty much is going to be an adjournment. So it's up to you if you want to stay.
Right, and I think you make a motion to go in, right? Or is that out?
We
just
will, we
motion
have
to
to
go.
motion to go in, but we can come out.
Right, so you'll have to do that, and I'm moving people into the waiting room.
Okay.
While you're doing
Dana Philbin, I motion that we enter executive session at 9:10 on July 14th.
For the purpose of, we have to say the whole thing.
For the purpose of executive session regarding the superintendent's
We
evaluation.
have to invite them.
Right. Right,
And
I'm
I'd like to
gonna-
invite Dr. Willett.
I'll put myself in the waiting room.
I'd like to invite you formally.
All right.
Here's my invitation.
Okay.
Thank you, Ashley.
Jacob.
Okay, Jacob has seconded. Any discussion? Let's do the roll call vote. So Jacob,
Aye.
Madhu,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Lord, muted,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, we are.
Christina Ford, make a motion to adjourn.
Madhu and Patel, second.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Jacob,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Lord,
Aye.
Madhu,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, everyone have a wonderful evening. We're ending at 10:03.